Hey Canelo, if the WBC asks you to either fight Golovkin next or give up the belt, what do you do?
I'm ready.
You ready? So we're gonna see Golovkin in May or what?
I'm ready.
There it is. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? And welcome to the DBN show. So, as things heat up at the 154-pound division, where all of the best fighters are fighting against each other, almost all of the best fighters. You have Edeslani Lara, who just fought the very tough Vanes Martirosyan twice. He didn't have to do that because the first fight was extremely competitive. But Lara decided to give Vanes Martirosyan a rematch, beat him in the rematch. Jermall Charlo, he just beat Austin Trout. Now he has to fight against the very tough Julian Rock Williams. That is a 50-50 fight right there, right? Demetrius Andrade, he's fighting the very tough, very strong Willie Nelson in his next fight. A couple months back, we had on PBC the Battle of the Undefeateds, Chris Pearson, which is Mayweather's fighter, going up against undefeated prospect Eric Walker, a power puncher, very aggressive, very exciting fighter. Well, Eric Walker, he was the underdog and he pulled off the upset and he beat Chris Pearson. So while all of these great competitive matches are taking place at the 154-pound division, who is Canelo fighting? Amir Khan. And after he beats Amir Khan, who are they looking at facing next? A guy by the name of Liam Smith. That's right, I can't make this up. Matter of fact, they're looking at Liam Smith. They also want Gabe Rosado. But Gabe Rosado, he fights at middleweight and he doesn't want to come down to 155. So Liam Smith, who actually fights today, he has to defend his title because he is the WBO champion. Assuming Liam gets past his opponent today, Team Canelo, they are going to pursue a fight with this man, Liam Smith. So instead of driving down those real dangerous roads, Canelo Alvarez is taking a hell of a detour. I mean, he done damn near pulled off the road and now he's riding in the bike lane. A real safe lane where you can ride real slow. There's almost zero danger of getting hit by any big, strong vehicles, right? He doesn't have to compete with those big, strong vehicles. That's where Canelo Alvarez is right now, rolling in the bike lane, avoiding the big, tough, strong fighters like Jermall Charlo, Jermell Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, even a Willie Nelson who's fighting against Demetrius Andrade. Even that would have been a great step-up fight for Canelo Alvarez. Even Vanes Martirosyan, who fought a very competitive fight against Edeslani Lara 2 weeks ago. Even that would have been a step up for Canelo Alvarez. I'm going to tell you guys right now, as a boxing fan, I don't care how much of a Canelo fan you are, you should be offended. And this should bother you as a boxing fan, quite frankly, because you have a lot of these decafs that claim they don't like the man on the coincidental list, Al Heyman. Oh, because he puts on mismatches. Yeah, that's the reason why I don't like him. That's the reason why, because all the fights are mismatches, right? Even though we just got, once again, Jermall Charlo against Austin Trout. We just got Jermell Charlo against John Jackson, which was a very competitive fight that John Jackson was actually winning before he got clipped and knocked out, right? We had Edeslani Lara in a very tough fight against Vanes Martirosyan. All of these fights were on the same card. They were all on the same card. Like I was talking about earlier, on another card that was a couple months back, you had the undefeated Chris Pearson against the undefeated Eric Walker. That was another Al Heyman PBC card. On that undercard, You had Gervonta Tank Davis, and you had, what's his name? What is his name? Is it Benavidez? Not Jose Benavidez, but his brother. Damn, I'm forgetting his damn brother's first name. But it was Antonio Benavidez's undefeated prospect brother. He was on that card as well. Now, there's been so many cards. Forgive me if I'm getting some of these cards mixed up, but the bottom line is these are all PBC cards, and these were all competitive stat cards, okay? Now we have another Al Haymon card coming up. Arguably top 2, top 3, the biggest fight of the year, Keith Thurman versus Showtime Sean Porter, okay? If you guys notice the pattern here, and then you got Deontay Wilder, another Al Haymon fighter who was supposed to be fighting Povetkin if Povetkin would have passed this test. So if you guys notice the pattern, you'll notice that when it comes to the welterweight division, let's just start with the welterweight division. Everyone is fighting everyone, right? You have Jesse Vargas, who's a champion. He just signed a contract to fight Kell Brook in his own backyard. That is a unification bout at the welterweight division. You got Keith Thurman fighting against Sean Porter. That's for welterweight dominance right there, right? A lot of people believe the winner of that fight will prove who the best welterweight in the world is. Then you have the emergence of Errol Spence, who I did a poll on the welterweights that obviously included Errol Spence, and I simply asked the question, who do you guys think will go the furthest in the welterweight division today? And that included all of the best welterweights. And fans, they chose Errol Spence by a landslide. Okay, so with the emergence of Errol Spence, now he's going to be the mandatory for Kell Brook versus Jesse Vargas, assuming he gets past his next eliminator opponent, which is Konstantin Panamarev. But there's no guarantee that Panamarev will even take that fight, because I don't see too many people rushing to fight someone like Errol Spence. So with all of that being culminated, with all of the competition, all of the fighters that are willing to fight the best to be the best in the welterweight division, in the 154-pound division, in the heavyweight division. I didn't even talk about the heavyweight division. You got Wilder, who was just about to fight Alexander Povetkin. Tyson Fury just beat Klitschko. Now they have a rematch. Anthony Joshua is destroying almost every undefeated heavyweight in the division. He's going on, what, a 4-win streak on fighting nothing but undefeated fighters, right? His next opponent is against the undefeated Dominic Breazeale. Now, assuming Anthony Joshua gets past him, which a lot of us are, if he gets past Dominic Breazeale, his mandatory is going to then be the undefeated prospect Joseph Parker. You see what I'm saying? These are the type of opponents that these fighters are facing in different divisions. So if you have all of these fighters facing this type of competition, and I didn't even mention all the other names in the heavyweight division, because there are a lot. Why is it when there is so much competition in your own division, including 154, why is Canelo Alvarez facing Liam Smith? Why is he facing Liam Smith? Because, see, I could understand if there was no one available and let's say Canelo just cleaned out the division. Let's say he already beat the Charlo twins. You know, he already beat Demetrius Andrade. He already beat Edislani Lara. So who else is next? Or not even that, but let's just say he beat one of those guys. Let's just say he just beat one of those guys out of the bunch, right? Everyone said he was afraid to fight Demetrius Andrade. Let's just say hypothetically he went in there and beat Demetrius Andrade. Then if his next fight was against Liam Smith, right, an undefeated WBO champion, that would be a good look. But the fact that Canelo is not trying to face any of the best fighters at 154, he just knocked out a welterweight. He all but promised to fight Gennady Golovkin after he beat Miguel Cotto. He gives up his middleweight belt. goes back down to 155 or 154, and instead of fighting the Charlo brothers, Andre, Lara, Julian Williams, Vanes Monterosian, and the list just goes on and on and on. Instead of fighting any of those guys, Canelo decides that he wants to target the least accomplished fighter in the division. This is offensive to the sport of boxing, guys. This is offensive. And quite frankly, I don't even see how HBO allows Canelo Alvarez to do this. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. You have these fans that say, oh, you know, we want to see him in an exciting fight and et cetera, et cetera. All of those fighters that I mentioned are exciting fighters. Okay? Jamel Charlo just got a knockout over John Jackson. Hell, even John Jackson would be a good step-up fight, and he just got knocked out. I mean, and this is how sad the situation is right now. I mean, look, man, for the sake of the sport and the boxing fans, HBO, they have a lot of power. You know, I believe Virgil Hunter, he said it best when I interviewed him. I asked him, I said, will Canelo deal with a lot of backlash when it comes to him not fighting one of the best fighters at 154 if he's not going to fight against against Gennady Golovkin? If he's not going to fight against the best fighters at 154, will he receive backlash for that? And Virgil Hunter, he simply said no. And the reason is because of the networks. It's the networks that have the power. It's the networks that decide if they're going to put that opponent on TV or not. And you know, HBO, they actually did this with Mikey Garcia as well. When Mikey Garcia was avoiding Gamboa, Mikey Garcia, he was trying to fight other opponents that were far lesser than Gamboa. And HBO, they wouldn't go for it. HBO was like, no, you're going to have to fight someone on a much higher level than this, or else we're not going to air it. We're not going to give you a date if you're not going to give us an opponent that has some type of name equivalent to Gamboa, because HBO, they wanted the Gamboa fight, just like Bob Arum wanted the Gamboa fight. Mikey Garcia, Team Garcia, Robert Garcia, they didn't want that fight. So what happened? HBO said, okay, well, if you're not going to fight Gamboa and you're not going to fight someone on that level, we're not putting you on HBO. That is exactly what happened. Next thing you know, Mikey Garcia, he was suing Bob Arum and trying to get out the contract. So HBO and other networks, they need to put their foot down. They need to put their foot down, and they need to come flat out and say, no, you're going to fight a viable opponent, or you're not going to be fighting on HBO. Just that simple. This is what needs to happen, guys. This is what needs to happen. Because right now, Canelo Alvarez is doing whatever he can do to protect his record and stay, I won't say unbeaten, but let's just say he doesn't want a second loss. And he's doing everything he can possibly do to keep that record at a 1 and not a 2 when it comes to defeats. You know, this is really bad for Canelo because there is no excuse Canelo or a diehard Canelo fan can use to justify what's taking place right in front of our eyes right now. You can't say, oh, it's because they're looking for a big money fight and, you know, the Charlos or Demetrius, you know, they're not big money names or, you know, something. You can't say anything like that. Because first of all, the Charlo brothers, they have a bigger name than Liam Smith. I, for one, I've never heard of Liam Smith until right now. Okay? Demetrius Andrade, the Charlo bros, they have been fighting on television for quite some time in the States. All right? And they've been all fighting big names. So you can't use that excuse. You can't use the quote-unquote boring excuse, which is just another code word. But you can't even use that excuse, oh, you know, they're just boring and this and that. That would be a lie. Because Julian Williams is a knockout artist. Jamal Charlo is extremely aggressive. And if it wasn't for the durability of Austin Trout, the average guy would have got knocked out that night, right? Austin Trout would have got knocked out if he just wasn't so durable and experienced. Jermell Charlo, he got a knockout that night against John Jackson. So you can't use that excuse. Demetrius Andrade stands right in front of you. He was extremely aggressive when he fought against Vanes Martirosyan. But I mean, even when they start to talk about these excuses of fighters that are boring, we don't want to be in a ring, or they don't want to see Canelo in a ring where someone is going to run. Okay, so how come you didn't complain about the Khan fight? Not only did you have someone that was going to quote unquote run the whole night, you knew that going into the fight. But it was a welterweight with no chin that was doing it. So guys, there are no excuses when it comes to this move. There's no way Canelo can justify not fighting any of the best fighters at the 154-pound division, especially when all of those guys are facing each other. All of those guys are facing each other. Which reminds me a lot of the Black Murderers Row. Okay, and I will be doing another video on the Black Murderers Row. For those of you guys who've never heard of the Black Murderers Row, go ahead and Google the Black Murderers Row and read on it a little bit. So one more time, let me go ahead and reiterate. Everyone else around Canelo Alvarez, they are all facing each other, right? Everyone in the 154-pound division, they're pretty much in a tournament right now, and Canelo, he's just sitting on the sidelines fighting welterweights and guys like Liam Smith. Does that seem fair to you guys? It shouldn't seem fair at all. And it's ironic and hilarious to me that some of you fans, every single time Canelo pulls a move like this. Matter of fact, let me put it this way. I remember after Canelo beat Cotto, I had fans sending me messages basically saying to me, Dante, you're just a hater. You're hating on Canelo. For you to even suggest that Canelo would give up his belt and not fight Gennady Golovkin, you're only saying that because you're a hater, Dante. These are the type of messages they were sending me, right? He's going to fight Canelo, he's going to fight Gennady Golovkin this year, and you're just a hater, Dante. That was last year when they were saying that, right? But once again, the truth has a funny way of always breaking free. Something else that never makes sense with these decafs, and I'm going to ask a rhetorical question because I know the answer already, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Why is it whenever a fighter like Canelo Alvarez, a fighter like Leo Santa Cruz, whenever a fighter like that is ducking an opponent, right, and they end up cherry picking and fighting a much safer opponent, and then they end up never even fighting that opponent that the fans wanted them to fight, why is it the first fighter, these decafs, will usually try to compare that fighter to who ducked someone? They try to compare him to Mayweather. You know what's so silly about that is when it comes to Canelo Alvarez, when it comes to Gennady Golovkin, when it comes to Leo Santa Cruz, none of those fighters really have anything in common with Floyd Mayweather, do they? In terms of accomplishments, in terms of moving up in weight, they have nothing in common in terms of facing tough competition and beating tough competition. Where are the parallels? Where are the similarities? There are none. So if you're going to compare Canelo to not fighting the Charlo brothers, Golovkin, Demetrius Andrade, and possibly fighting Liam Smith next, or Gabe Rosado at a catchweight, if you're going to compare Canelo to anyone, wouldn't it make more sense to compare him to someone who's more on Canelo's level? Why would you be comparing Canelo Alvarez to a fighter that is considered the greatest fighter of our generation? Why would you be comparing Canelo Alvarez to a fighter who has been pound for pound number one, the best in the world universally, by every organization, by every website, every magazine, for at least the last 8 or 10 years? Where are the parallels? Where are the similarities? There are none. There are none. Think about this for a second. Once again, when it comes to accomplishments and who fighters have fought or who they have been accused of avoiding, wouldn't it make more sense to compare Canelo to someone like a Leo Santa Cruz, maybe a Mikey Garcia, maybe someone on that level? Because what those fighters right there have in common is none of those fighters are really considered pound for pound the best fighters in the world. These are popular fighters that fans like, right? These are fighters who have potential to do some stuff, but they also all have in common the fact that they have all avoided a big name fighter, right? And some of them avoided multiple fighters. So who has more in common with Canelo Alvarez? Floyd Mayweather or Leo Santa Cruz? Mikey Garcia? Even Gennady Golovkin? Who has more in common with Canelo? Golovkin or Floyd Mayweather? Those are rhetorical questions that are obviously too easy to answer, right? You know, it's funny too, because I started to even compare Canelo to Terrence Crawford and say you could even compare him to Terrence Crawford, but now that I think about it, Terrence Crawford is actually willing to fight the best fighters in his division, right? He's fighting Victor Postol next. If you really think about it, Victor Postol is equivalent to Canelo Alvarez facing Demetrius Andrade or the Charlo brothers next. Just like Victor Postol, Demetrius Andrade, and the Charlo brothers, they don't have the biggest names in the sport of boxing, but they're the best fighters in that division. But to make things worse for Canelo, Demetrius Andrade and the Charlo brothers, they are much more bigger when it comes to popularity than Victor Postol is. So Canelo has more of a reason to fight the Charlo brothers and Demetrius Andrade than Terrence Crawford does when it comes to fighting Victor Postol. Now you tell me that didn't make sense what I just said. Of course the shit makes sense. Of course it is all logical and makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it? So I mean, it's like crazy. You're comparing Canelo Alvarez to the best fighter of our generation when Canelo Alvarez is not even considered pound for pound number one, the best fighter in the world. And quite frankly, I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I don't believe Canelo Alvarez will ever be considered pound for pound number one, the best fighter in the world. I don't even see him ever being considered top 5 the best fighter in the world, right? Now it's possible, but in order for Canelo to achieve that, he would have to beat a fighter like a Demetrius Andrade, like a Jamel Charlo, like a Gennady Golovkin, okay? If he were to beat someone like that, he could definitely crack that top 5. But I don't think he's gonna beat any of those guys. And quite frankly, I'll tell you this too. I believe Canelo Alvarez would actually have a chance against Jamel Charlo. I don't give him that much of a chance against Jamel Charlo, but I give him a chance against Jamel Charlo. But outside of that, I give him no chance against Demetrius Andrade. I don't give him that much of a chance against Jamel Charlo. And I used to give him a real good chance against Gennady Golovkin, but after watching that Amir Khan fight, I don't know if Canelo has that much of a chance against a Gennady Golovkin. Of course, that fight is most likely never going to happen unless Golovkin goes in his next fight and looks like shit, and then he looks vulnerable, then Canelo would think about it. But this is the reason why I don't see Canelo ever cracking the top 5, because if you can't beat any special fighters without controversy, how do you become perceived as a special fighter, as a special talent, a special pound for pound top 5 fighter? It's impossible. It is impossible. Canelo Alvarez is on a boxing treadmill. He's running real fast, but he ain't going nowhere. Beating Gabe Rosado, Liam Smith, those opponents do nothing for Canelo Alvarez's legacy and his status as being one of the best fighters in the world. It does nothing for him. All it does is guarantee him another payday, another check. And for the real diehard Canelo Alvarez fans, they'll tell you in the comment section, like I tell you guys all the time, the comment section is a confession booth. You know, it is a confession booth where boxing fans, they get to remain anonymous and they get to say what is really on their mind without being judged, because no one knows who they are, right? That's why a lot of comments you'll see in the comment section by diehard Canelo fans, they'll flat out come out and say it. They'll say, you know, I just want to keep seeing him win. I don't care who he fights. It doesn't matter who he fights. He's only 25 and it doesn't matter. He can fight whoever he wants. So they're encouraging him to cherry pick, right? They condone it. They have no problem with the cherry picks, with the mismatches. That's how you know that that's code words, because these are the same fans that'll tell you, oh, I don't like that guy, Al Heyman, right? Because he just puts together mismatches and all that kind of stuff. But then when it comes to Canelo Alvarez fighting Liam Smith, Gabe Rosado, you know, James Kirkland, Amir Khan, hey man, he's 25, let him fight who he wants to fight, right? But yet Al Heyman, he got 21, 23-year-olds in there fighting against other undefeated fighters. But let them tell it, they don't like Al Heyman because he puts on mismatches. Yeah, we know what time it is. We know what time it is. So, you know, this is what the Canelo Alvarez fans, the diehard Canelo Alvarez fans, this is what they want. They don't care who Canelo fights. As long as Canelo's hand is raised, that's all they want to see. They don't want him to fight the best. They don't want him to take another L. And they know deep down that Demetrius Andrade, the Charlo brothers, is a tall order. They know that. They know that just like I know that. That's why they don't want to see it. But see, that's the difference from a real boxing fan as opposed to a decaf, a dumb casual ass fan who's emotionally attached. Maybe just a racist fan, may just be emotionally attached towards your favorite fighter, or all of the above. But that's the difference from a decaf and me. See, when it comes to me, as a reporter and a boxing fan, I can balance everything. Even if my favorite fighter or the guy that I'm rooting for is going against a guy that I'm rooting against, I still want to see the fight. Even if the guy that I want to win, I know will most likely lose in a fight, I still want to see the fight, right? Once again, when Sergey Kovalev was calling black people monkeys and pieces of shit, naturally, I'm not rooting for this guy, right? But I still respect him. And when there was talks of Kovalev versus Adonis, I've always favored Kovalev to win that fight. And I've always wanted to watch the fight, even if Sergey Kovalev is going to win the fight, which I believe that he will if they ever fight. I still want to watch it. I'm not going to sit over here and say, oh, that's bullshit. Adonis don't need to fight him. Adonis doesn't need him. That asshole, that guy's a racist and this and that. No, I would never say that. Because if I would say that, I would be just saying that just because I don't want to see Adonis lose to this guy. Forget all of that. I'm a boxing fan first. I want to see great fights. But see, these fake ass boxing fans, they're not real boxing fans. They're willing to shut down the whole sport just to protect their favorite fighter. That's how they are with Canelo Alvarez. I'm telling you right now, you have a lot of Canelo Alvarez fans that truly feel deep down they would actually be okay with Canelo Alvarez fighting nothing but the Liam Smiths and the Gabe Rosados for the rest of his career, if that would guarantee Canelo wouldn't take another loss. That's how they feel. That's not a real boxing fan, okay? And that is a hypocrite, because these are also the same fans that once again will sit over here and call Mayweather a cherry picker. They'll say Al Heyman is the king of mismatches. These are the same fans that say that, guys. And then they turn around and they try to protect Canelo Alvarez when he wants to fight Liam Smith and Amir King Khan. Alright? So I'm telling you right now, Canelo Alvarez is going to start dealing with a lot of backlash. He may have a lot of fans that support him, but there are a lot of fans that are getting sick of this same old magic trick. Like I say, man, you can pull off a magic trick maybe once. When you pull it off once, it's extremely impressive. You do it a second time, it's still kind of impressive. But once you start doing that same magic trick a third, a fourth, a fifth time, now it's starting to get old. Now it's starting to get played out. And Canelo Alvarez is starting to give us the same damn magic trick. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Well, that's where I'm a bit confused. It's like it's there's no shame in losing. The very best have lost. The very best. When I talk about the very best, I'm thinking about Muhammad Ali. I'm thinking about Sugar Ray Robinson and Julio Cesar Chavez. Like those types, everybody loses. And when everybody loses, you see great fights. You see action-packed fights. You see excitement. You see, worrying about a record doesn't do good to anybody.
Couldn't you argue?
Including the person himself.
Well, because it doesn't do good, including the person himself, because you're going to be taken care of. You're going to do whatever possible you can to protect that record. And what happens then? You take no risk, or you pick and choose, or so. That's why I say, boxing must go back to the root of the sport, and that's taking risks, fighting the very best, and there's no shame in losing.
You all wanted to do that, didn't you? It was a matter of pride that you fought them. The other guys in your division at that time.
Yeah, well, I never look. If I did lose, then I fought against a great fighter. I lost against somebody that deserved to beat me, and I understood that it's okay.
Yeah.
As long as I fought, as long as I gave it my all.
Isn't
Oscar
in boxing, to really be great, you have to prove how you deal with adversity.
Well, look, what I've learned over a period of time recently is that I've made a lot of decisions in my life based on fear, and fear has dictated my life for a while. If you can find a way to overcome that and make yourself believe that, if I take this chance, I don't have to be scared. I don't have to run away from fear. What if I embrace it? It's like I'm afraid to lose. I'm afraid to lose that zero. Go ahead and embrace it. It's okay. Face it.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.